Well, I want to welcome everybody. We're going to get started. Don't worry if you have friends, power partners, consultants, team, or whatever, that I will be in the back office working on all of that. We have been loving these Lunch and Learns. And if you're new today, there is a Facebook group called Lunch and Learns. I do a little housekeeping disclaimer in the beginning. YouTube is literally my name. So you can just Google my name on YouTube and you will find search it and you'll find me and you can see all the past. But there's a Lunch and Learn Facebook page and it has Mary Kay in a red dress, vintage from like back in the day on the Applause magazine. That's how you know. And if there are any handouts or anything like that, you will find them attached to the recording. Give us about 24 hours to put the recording. I know a lot of people go to YouTube and then they're like, can I get this paper from like a year ago? I'm like, girl, I don't even. I can't even tell. One, I'd have to go watch the video again, know which one, because sometimes we have the same speaker multiple times. So, either place, look at that. But usually, honestly, ladies, if you Google Mary Kay and whatever that subject is that she's training on, you'll probably find any more. You'll, with technology, you'll probably find her worksheet that she's talking about anyway. But we're so happy to have you here. This is for anyone from signing your agreement all the way to national, no matter what division, what country, no matter state, anything. We're just all here to come together in fellowship to support each other, right? And we just want to share all our ideas and be there for everyone. And so I asked Lynn to do this again. She's already done this for me. So with a grateful heart, she did it again. And you have to know this about our speakers. This truly is just a authentic, genuine go give thing that they're doing. There really is no value to that for them other than probably sharing with the Mary Kay world, right? They do this out of the kindness of their heart. They give up their precious time that we all know how valuable that is. And Lynn, I adore you. I've just grown to love you so much. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. When you trained the first time, I'm like, I want her again. She is the real deal. And I love your presentation. I love your directness. I love how you do everything in your business. I just admire and respect you so very much. And so thank you again for taking time to pour into the Mary Kay world. And it's such an honor to have you here and to get you to do that for us. Because again, it's month end, right? It's getting there. I guess we get an extra day, but um it's pretty much month end, right? Because I don't know about the rest of you, this weekend's busy. I'm like, I feel
Yeah.
like thank God they gave us April 1st. But thank you for sharing with us. And I'm going to let you take over. And again, with a grateful heart, I appreciate you so much.
You are so sweet and I'm so honored. I really, really am so honored and thank you so much for, just inviting me to be on, but even just more than that, just doing this. I don't even know how long running this is, but it's been long. I mean, you've been doing this a long time and I know that you've even said it's like it's gone crazy, like you never expected. And I know for me, a lot of times I'm not on the live, but I go back and listen to the playbacks because, and there's been so many times that I've messaged Jennifer and I've been like, thank you so much for doing this. That one just meant so much to me. Or I messaged the speaker because I just want them to know, sometimes you do something like this and you just pray that it impacts or gives somebody a great idea or helps them in some way. And I'm always encouraged. I mean, it's one of my favorite things really in our Mary Kay world is this lunch and learn because it's pretty short, it's quick, it's different every single week. It might be a selling idea, it might be a team building idea, it might be scripts, it might be mental stuff, you never know till you get on, right? So I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And so thank you for inviting me and thank you for doing this. And ladies, thank you for showing up for yourself, for your business. And I'm going to jump right into this because I do have something that I really feel led to share. And I hope that it's really impacting for you. I really, really do. I pray that it is. But I know that it was a little stressful a little bit because everybody's been going to career conferences. How many of y'all have been to some sort of a career conference, either the company career conference or one of the ones that the nationals did across the nation that looked amazing? And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to ever be able to share that will top what these ladies have already been through? Because I don't know about you, but we had one here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was really good. I mean, the speakers were sensational and I loved it. Oops.
I
Just,
really love these waffles.
oh, you really love these waffles? Somebody loves the waffle. What kind of waffles are they?
I know I'm jealous now.
I
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, you're going to have to put that in the chat what kind of waffles those are. Okay, so anyways, career conference. Yes. Oh my gosh, you guys, it was so good. So, anyways, but this was something that I had actually been thinking about before career conference. And so then I actually heard a few more things during career conference that related to it. And I thought I'm going to go ahead and share this because I really love it. And it's something that I feel like God has really been making me really passionate about. But as we go into the next 90 days, you guys, I get excited. I really do about April, May, and June. Because on the years when I'm running towards a goal, of course, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. And then sometimes when I'm not that close to a goal that I really wanted, it's still very exciting because I always look at these 90 days, this 90-day window, as either a window that you're going to finish up or you're going to build momentum for what you want next year, regardless. I mean, it's never, ever, ever going to be the 3 months that you're going to sit back and relax for sure. It's the 3 months that you want to get on and really have your best months ever to finish something up, and I encourage you to get a win for yourself for the end of the year, even if it's not what you originally had hoped for. What are you working towards? Maybe you are on and you're like running, you know exactly where you're going. You are excited. You have plans. You're working hard to finish, and it's so exciting. But like I said, even if you're not that close to your goal, I hope that you won't like just think, nah, I'm just going to sit back. And because there's not any worse feeling in Mary Kay than on the end of June when everybody's popping on with what they finished, what they completed, how far they are from finishing, they're running, and then you see that they finished, and you think, oh, I've really been coasting the last 3 months because I kind of gave up on my goal, right? So anyways, all that being said, I hope that this helps you to get engaged and excited and kind of begin, just keep that momentum going or create some momentum to get where you really want to be in this next, in the next year even. So, but surprisingly, like I wanted to talk about what I kind of had on my mind was I wanted to talk about a seed, the seed. It's a really big, powerful thing. The seed, look how tiny it is, this little seed. And in Luke 8, Jesus, he tells a story about some farmers. He tells a parable to the disciples about a farmer who went out and he sowed and he was sowing seeds, but he said some of the seeds fell on the road. So they were throwing seeds, some fell on the road. It was trampled down and the birds ate it and everything. And other seeds, they fell in the gravel and they sprouted a little bit. It says it sprouted, but it withered because it didn't have good roots. And other seed fell in the weeds. The weeds grew with it, and it grew in the weeds, but the weeds grew with it. And the weeds, what happens when weeds start growing? They start taking over, right? And they strangle out the seed. And other seeds fall into rich earth and they produce a bumper crop. That's what the Bible says, a bumper crop. And so it's really interesting. So there was some things that I noticed about this and I thought it related a lot to our Mary Kay business. But one of the things that I thought about is I thought, you know what, this little seed is not the thing, right? This seed is not the thing. This seed is potential. It's potential. It's just the seed. It's not the real thing. So just like this little pack, I grabbed this little pack of sunflowers. I thought it was funny. It says busy bee on there. I didn't know it said that till just a little bit ago. I was like, oh yeah, we're all busy bees. So, but here's a packet of sunflower seeds. So there's not, there's a picture of sunflowers, right? But the sunflowers are not what's in there, right? The seeds are in there. All right. The potential for sunflowers is in the packet. So if I throw these seeds on the soil, out on the soil that's full of stones and rocks, and the sunflowers come up and what was I going to say here? So I throw the seeds on the stone and the rocks, so then no sunflowers come up. Okay, think about that. So, you've got this pack of sunflowers, you throw them over on some rocks. As you're throwing them out, you throw some on the rocks and nothing comes up, right? So obviously nothing comes up, right? So then is the seed bad? You can go, is the seed bad? Is it no good? The seed's no good. It's the soil, right? The seed's fine. It's the same seed. It's the same seed that goes on the rocks and doesn't do anything. It's the same seed that goes in and produces a bumper crop, right? Isn't that crazy? So it's not the seed, right? It's the soil. And then I put that if you put the seeds down on dry soil with no water, again, it's not going to really produce much. But is it the seed's fault? No, it's not the seed, it's the soil. And so I want you to think of our business, the business opportunity, because right now we're double credit, right, guys? Double credit. And so sometimes we can get discouraged sometimes with sharing the products or sharing the business. So I want you to think of when you're out there and you're sharing the business and stuff, that you are sharing a seed, right? So when you look at the brochure, the success brochure, when somebody orders the starter bag, does the national suit come inside? Like the actual national suit or the red jacket? Director suit or the free cars? No, they don't come in there. The opportunity, the starter bag, it's the seed. It's the seed. It's their opportunity to earn their free cars and stuff. So you got to think about that. And so when you share the business with somebody and they say no, thank you, so does that mean that the opportunity is not that good because people are saying no, so probably nobody wants it because it's really not? No, it just means that the soil's not that good. Does that make sense? It's weird because I can only see myself. I can't see you all. So let me see if I can change my view because it drives me crazy.
Yes, change it to gallery.
I'm gonna do gallery because I like to see your face. I can't stand to see all I see is my face. I can't see you. Okay, it's distracting to me. Okay, so I thought that was so good when I really was thinking about that, and I thought, you know what, it's so true. How many times can we get just like discouraged because we share that we ask a few people and they're not interested, so we think, oh, nobody really wants to do Mary Kay. It's a bad seed. No, it's not. It's just bad soil. They're not ready. They're just not ready. And if you share the business with somebody and she says yes, then you get so excited, right? But then she doesn't really do anything, then that can be discouraging, right? Have you ever had that happen? Have you ever had that happen where you share the business and then they don't do anything? You're so excited and then they disappear, right? They ghost you. And you get frustrated. It's easy to get frustrated, but it's not the seed. Remember, it's not the seed. It's not the business opportunity. It's the soil, right? And so, when the Bible talks about the seed that is planted in Luke, Jesus describes the first seed lands on the road. Okay, so let's take that apart. The first seed lands on the road. So in team building, I was thinking that might be our no's, right? Sometimes you're going to throw it out, that you're going to put it out there and people are going to say no, right? The second seed that Jesus talks about in that parable, he says it falls on the gravel. It sprouts, but then it withers because it didn't have good roots. I was thinking this might be the girl who is excited. Maybe she does her first party, she sells $600, and she's all excited, but then life happens. Have you ever had that happen where you have this new team member, she's all excited, she really has a great experience, she's excited, but then all of a sudden her husband loses her job or her mom gets a cancer diagnosis or something happens, or maybe her best friend, doesn't think it's a good thing for her to do and she gets discouraged, right? And so then she kind of withers away because she just doesn't have a real good root system in her Mary Kay. And then the third kind of seed that Jesus talks about lands in the weeds. I thought this one was really interesting when you think about that, right? I can think of some weeds in Mary Kay. Can you think of weeds? I have this much written about weeds. Okay, I'm just going to read it. It said, I think this represents the woman who you share the business with, and she joins and she gets going, and maybe she even does a power start and she moves up Maybe she even moves up in her business a little bit to senior consultant or red jacket, but she doesn't have a supportive tribe. She doesn't have a supportive tribe. The people that she hangs with aren't encouraging to her. Maybe she doesn't have a supportive husband or family member. Maybe she's even allowed herself to start hanging around some girls in the unit who aren't that supportive of the company, right? Have you been around that where you get around people and they're just, I can't believe we're out of this, we're out of that, I'm having problems with this. This isn't, it's like you can always find something to complain about, right? And so maybe that girl that is like that, it's the weeds. She did have a good little root system, but all of a sudden the weeds started taking over, right? She's hanging around complainers. Maybe she's getting together now and again and she talks about the sales director, or maybe it's even not to that point where she's hanging around ladies in the unit who have maybe she's just hanging around in the unit with people who've settled. Maybe they're not like negative people, but they're not really super positive people. They're just sort of equal signs, right? Because they kind of settled, right? And so she's not seeking out the ones who are selling $1,000. In fact, have you ever been around somebody in the unit or in Mary Kay and somebody's getting celebrated? She's brand new and she had $1,000 week, right? And you've got somebody in your ear that's saying, oh, just wait because she's going to run out of customers. That's just because it was her friends and family. They'll start like just putting those negative thoughts in your mind. You guys, those are weeds, 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 weeds. And so I just want you to know that it's so important for us to be able to say, wait a minute, I'm in the weeds, right? Because everybody can fall trap to that. And so, you know what? You can easily start slowing down in your business and settle yourself when you're in soil that's got a lot of weeds. And then the fourth seed lands on good soil and produces a bumper crop. These are the ladies who get in and get going. They learn to manage their emotions and stick with it during the ups and downs. They check in with their director after every appointment so that they can get some tips for the next appointment. They show up to company events. She's staying close to her director because she knows that her director is her power source. She has a vision board and she's got goals and she's accountable to her director. She works to get her family on board with her goals. The family's not always going to be on board. It's our job to get them on board and get them to see what's in it for them, right? And when she does all of that, it says in the parable, it says she produces a bumper crop when she is in good soil. She's going to produce a bumper crop. And I think about that bumper crop and I think, this is a consultant who's team building and she's multiplying. She's building a bumper crop. And that's what we want. The thing is, when we share the business with ladies, here's the deal. We never know what kind of soil they are, right? We never know what kind of soil they are because unlike when you plant your sunflowers or your vegetables, you can look at the soil and you can see what the soil's like. You can see if it's rocky or if it's just full of garbage or weeds. But here's the deal that I think is interesting about doing our Mary Kay business. With people, it's not that easy to see the soil because the soil of a person is on the inside. Isn't that crazy and exciting and fun? The soil is inside. We never know based on the way someone looks, their personality, or their background, what soil that she's going to have inside. The only thing that we can do is be generous with the seeds that we spread. So I think, I was thinking about how interesting it was. This is funny. I was thinking how interesting it was that Jesus was talking to the disciples about the seed and the different soils. And I got to thinking about that. And I thought, well, obviously they were out there sharing the gospel and not everybody was saying yes. And some people were saying yes. And then they didn't stay with Jesus, They had the same problem, you guys. Not everybody said yes. And they did. And even they had attrition. Isn't that crazy to think about? Not everybody, I mean, even Jesus had to explain attrition to the disciples and about soil and about the fact that it's not our job. It's the good seed. It's good seed that we're putting out there. Well, it's just all on the soil. What is the soil? When one of my classes at Career Conference was National Sales Director Bridget Shaw, and she was talking about the $10 starter bag. And she said, and I have to say, I mean, well, I'm just going to say this, sometimes you can get in a place where you get discouraged with team building. Am I right? Am I the only one that sometimes can be that way? And so then when the company comes out with the $10 starter bag, it's easy to go, oh, it's only $10. We're going to get a bunch of people. How many people are actually going to stay? But Bridget was so smart and she said, you know what? It's the truth. A lot of them aren't going to stay, but here's the deal. It's always going to be, the numbers never lie. It's 30, 30, 30. It doesn't matter how much they pay to get in. It doesn't matter if they get inventory or not. It's 30, 30, 30 is really the percentage. 30% of the people are going to sign up and you're never going to hear from them again. 30% of the people are going to sign up and they might place an order now and again. They might gather up orders from friends, but they're not going to really do parties. And then 30% will get going. They'll hold a debut. They'll, get bookings from there. And, it was so true that what Bridget said is she reminded us that no matter how you recruit them, it's 30, 30. And she said, if I'm only going to get 30% that actually hold appointments, I'd rather have 30% of 100 new than of 5, right? So you know what it does? It just goes back to that fact, you guys. I mean, you have to be willing to play the game and, to just throw the seeds out there. We can't control. And I know that you guys probably all already know that, you all had that person that you never expected or you heard about. And Mary Kay, you've heard about that person you never would have thought. Maybe you're that person that your recruiter never would have thought that you would ever do anything with it. And I'm going to say that when I got recruited, I was personal use. I was living in Toledo, Ohio, and I was getting ready to move to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I wasn't going to know anybody. I had 3 small kids, a husband that was moving here with a job that he was going to travel. I was going to move to an area where I didn't know anybody. You guys, honestly, I know that my recruiter probably did not think I would ever do anything with this. And honestly, I didn't do anything for a whole year and a half. I never did one thing with it. And then I decided I wanted to make extra money. And so I started holding, sharing the products and booking a few appointments with just the few people that I knew. And you guys, in 5 months, I earned my first free car. 4 months later, I went on to become a sales director. She never would have thought that I would have been somebody that would have done something. So we've all had people, maybe you're that person that your recruiter never thought that you would do that much with it, but here you are and you are sticking with it and doing well. And then other people that we just knew were going to be perfect. This one's going to be great. And then she's not, So I just think it's so true. It was such a great reminder. You know what? You're always going to have more if the more seeds you throw out. It's so true. So I just want to encourage all of us, you guys, this month with a $10 starter bag. If you don't even have one team member yet, you can max out and get your 6 people that will count towards 12. Max it out and get the team members. Share the business with 10 people. Share the business for $10 and get at least 6 new team members. You can do that. Your harvest will be determined by the amount of seeds that you spread. That's all there is to it. And we've just got to get to where we just are just throwing out the seeds for sure. Track your seeds. That's what I want to encourage you. Are you tracking how many that you share with and how many say yes? And in Ecclesiastes 11:6, it says, go to work in the morning and stick to it until the evening without watching the clock. You never know from moment to moment how your work will turn out in the end. There's another version of it that I couldn't find, another Bible version that says, something about you never know which one will prosper and which one will not. And I thought it's so true. So you know what we got? That's our assignment, is to just get out there and ask. Gloria Mayfield Banks used to say, if she says no, that's on her. If I don't ask, that's on me. So it's so, so important that we spread the seed. We only have control of how much seed we plant. And so sometimes we can relate to the parable in the Bible about being the planter. But I want to shift gears for just a quick minute. And I want you to think about the soil. So, we can think of ourselves as that farmer who's throwing the seeds, but maybe we need to think for a minute about the soil. Maybe we're the soil in the story, right? I know that gets a little bit like, the soil. Okay, it can be a little convicting, to be honest. Obviously none of us are the pavement, right? Because you're actually here. So we've actually said yes to Mary Kay. So people threw the seed out to us and we didn't say no. We said yes. So we are in, and we had the courage to begin. So that is one step in the right direction. But we had the courage to start, but maybe some of us are in the soil with the stones, or maybe we're finding ourselves in soil with weeds. And so it's so important to be honest about that. In order to grow our business and get unstuck, it requires us to grow. And in order to grow, we have to change. Something that's growing changes. Do you realize that? This little it doesn't, you don't wake up one morning and it's a sunflower. It starts out and it pops out, and then it grows and it changes before it becomes what it's supposed to be. And you guys, that's how we are. And I'm going to tell you, at my age, I hang around sometimes with a lot of people that think they're done growing, they're done changing. And you know what? Honestly, and sometimes you can be any age, and in your mind you've kind of decided you're done. I am what I am. I just heard somebody say that the other day in a gathering that we were in. It wasn't Mary Kay, but she said, oh, I figure at my age I am what I am, and take it or leave it. And right away my little antennas were like, oh, cancel, cancel, cancel. Because it's so true. We can get into that mind frame of thinking, you know what, I am what I am. I'm not the sales type. I'm not a winner. I'm this, I'm that. And, I just think that it's so important for us to remember that if we are growing, we're going to be changing. It requires change. And, one of the books, I'm going to close kind of with this, is that one of the books that I've been reading, it's this book right here. And it's called Do the New You. I don't know if you've heard about it yet or not, but you guys, it's transformational. It truly is. He shares the 6 mindsets to become who you were created to be. And he talks about that maybe who you think you are is not who you really are, who God created you to be, because maybe he's not finished, right? And so I get excited about that maybe God's not quite finished with me. And so let me just move my notes here a little bit. So I wanted to just read a couple paragraphs of it, just so you could get an idea, get excited about this book, and really start thinking a new thought about yourself, okay? He says, when God called Jeremiah to be a prophet, he first had to convince Jeremiah that he was enough for the prophetic ministry. And he's talking about that Jeremiah, that God is calling Jeremiah to ministry. And Jeremiah was like, oh, I'm not enough. I'm too young. Well, he goes on to say this. Jeremiah was having a tough time seeing beyond the person he had been up to that point. God said, before I formed you, this is in Jeremiah, and he's telling Jeremiah, God is telling Jeremiah this, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Jeremiah didn't see himself as a prophet. He thought he was too young, too weak, too scared. But God told him, I knew you before, which is kind of interesting. That's what the whole book is kind of on, is that God knew you before. He goes on to say, think about that, before. He knew Jeremiah before he was born, before the world had hurt him, before people had mocked him or fear had silenced him. God knew the real Jeremiah because he created him. So he said, Jeremiah, listen to me. I imagined you. I formed you. I set you apart. I appointed you. And I'm going to be with you. What more do you need? When Jeremiah believed that, it changed everything. When Jeremiah believed that God was going to be with him and he was going to give him the words to say, it changed everything. And it can do the same for you. He said, God knew you before. And this is where I get a little choked up. It says, God knew you before. He knew you before you were born. He knew you before this world got a hold of you. He knew you before depression set in. He knew before false accusations threatened you. He knew you before you were abused and abandoned, long before the mistake, before the failure, before the addiction. God said, I knew you ahead before all of those things. He knew you. He knew you'd be he knew you be in financial difficulty. He knew you'd have trouble getting pregnant. He knew you'd be struggling with your health. He knew you'd be dealing with depression. He knew you'd need a job. He knew the challenges of your marriage that your marriage would go through and the kids, the problems that you would face with your kids. He knew it all and he saw it all. And he declares, I have a plan for you. I have a place for you. I have a purpose for you. The you he sees is the one who is still kicking, still going, still holding. It's the you just waiting to break through. And then it says, doing you, he says, you don't have to settle for less than you are. And you don't have to strive to be what you're not, which I love that. You don't have to strive to be what you're not. You just have to see yourself the way that God sees you. And then you have to walk in the new you. And I thought it's so good, you guys. It's so good. And I think if we can get our minds wrapped around that concept, that idea of what God has for us, and that just because you haven't been a winner in the past doesn't mean that God doesn't see you as a winner. Just because you don't see yourself as someone that runs to the finish line or drives a free car doesn't mean that God doesn't see that in you. Does that, or that he didn't create that he didn't put that seed in you. We're so quick to say, oh, that's not me. I think one of the biggest team building objections I get is I'm just not the sales type. I'm not the sales type. And, I always think to myself, who told you that? Like, we all sell things. You sold your kids on eating broccoli. You sell your husband on taking you on a date. We sell all the time, but sometimes people just think that, and sometimes we can get caught in that thing of feeling like we are not something because of what someone else said. It wasn't that long ago I was talking to my kids about this, my adult children, and my son-in-law said, you know what? He said, it's so true. He said, I remember in like grade school, one of his teachers said, you can't sing, can you? You can't carry a tune. He said, so now I just always feel like I can't sing, and I never sing. I don't like to sing. I never sing because in his mind, someone already told him that he can't sing, he doesn't have a good voice. So what have people spoken over you or done to you that have made you think that you're not capable, right? And so I think that it has to do with our soil. And I'm just going to go off my notes so I can finish up quickly here. But I said the enemy would have us believe that that what we are is all that we are, that we can't really change our soil, what we're made of. But the thing that God is reminding me is that how I see myself may not be how God sees me. It may not be the me that God knows. It might not be the me that God knows. Jeremiah 1:5 says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you before you were born. I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. I remember that something that Mary Kay used to say all the time is Mary Kay would always say, she would say, God didn't have time to create a nobody. And if you've been around when Mary Kay was around, you remember her saying that because she would say it all the time. She would say, ladies, God didn't have time to make a nobody. He only made somebody's. And the other thing that Mary Kay would always say is she would always say, God planted the seeds of success inside every one of us. It's up to us to bring it to fruition. And sometimes that means we're going to have to dig up our soil a little bit. Sometimes it means we're going to have to get away from some of the weeds in our life. So I love that. I remember Mary Kay saying that so much. And that's what this book is all about, that the you that you think you are is probably not the you that God knew when he created you and he imagined. In this book, Pastor Stephen said, if you agree with your limitations, you get to keep them. Isn't that profound? If you agree with your limitations, what you think you're not, guess what? You get to keep them. He encourages us not to be more loyal to our limitations than we are to our potential. Don't be so loyal to those limitations that we put on ourselves. Be more loyal to the potential that God has in you. Today, your soil is limiting your potential. How you feel about yourself is limiting your success. The great news is that we can change our soil. And so I had just a couple things, little tips. I said, if you're finding that maybe your soil is a little rocky or hard, or maybe you're seeing some weeds, here are a few reminders and things that you can do to change your soil. Number one, read. Become a reader, you guys. It is an app. I would put it at the top of my list. I mean, it's what I learned to do in Mary Kay. It's why I'm a different woman. I'm a different woman because of Mary Kay, because in Mary Kay, they taught me to read. They taught me to stay in, the positive zone, to continue to grow personally and to never stop growing. And I suggest Christian authors. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I feel like that way I can do both. I can grow spiritually and personally all at the same time. So I love, to read books. I'm always reading great books. Number two, control what goes into your mind. And it goes along with the books, but it also goes along with the people that you hang around with, the TV shows that you watch, how you spend your time. Number three, consider the cost of what you pay attention to. I have a cousin that is just amazing, and she does little podcasts and stuff. She's just like, oh, she's incredible. But the other day I was listening to one of her podcasts, and she said, I want to talk about the words pay attention. And she talked about the cost of your attention. Isn't that like, I was like, oh my gosh, that's deep. She talked about your attention and how costly it is. That it's interesting that we say pay attention, because your attention costs you. You only have so much attention. Attention is like time, and it's like money. It's a limited resource. We can't pay attention to everything, right? So we have to be careful what we pay attention to. I thought that was so, so good, because what goes in and what you pay attention to is what comes out. Number four, be accountable. Number five, track your activity. It's so important. And I'm saying this to myself. I'm not a tracker. It's something I have to develop. I have to keep working on all the time. Some people are natural trackers. I would say most people probably aren't natural trackers. I could be wrong, but it's a skill. And you know what? You sometimes just have to say that might be something that's holding you back from getting to the next success and the next level of success. So we're responsible to do what we have to do to get to that place. Number six, stay in circles that support your goals. Number seven, get going today. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's hard. That's another Mary Kayism. She would always say that. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's hard. You can eat an elephant one bite at a time. She would always say that. So get going today and think, what's my next step? It's great to have a huge momentous goal, but take it down and say, what's my next step? What do I have to do today to get there? And number eight, be willing to try again. We're probably, none of us are where we want to be, right? And so we have to think to ourselves, we got to be willing to try again, to constantly be in that mode of change. Because if we don't change, we don't grow. And if we don't grow, then we're going to always be the same. we're always going to be stuck where we are right now. One of the things that Pastor Stephen says in this book, it's actually one of the principles, one of the 6 principles is I'm not stuck unless I stop. I'm not stuck unless I stop. When you stop, that's when you're stuck. Remember, it's not the seed that matters, it's the soil. We all have the same opportunity, and no one has a better opportunity than you for success. It's all about your soil. So that's what I hope and pray is that you'll get excited about spreading lots of soil and making sure that you yourself have really good soil, that you are planting yourself in good soil so that you can produce and multiply and have a bumper crop in these next three months. So
Oh
that's
my gosh, that was amazing. Thank God it's recorded because I have so many things I want to go back and rewrite down. Thank you for everybody answering in the chat too. Sorry, I'm always going back and I don't know. I get in the thralls of paying attention. I'm too ADD to be going all over the place. I just take notes and do that. But yes, thanks for all the answers in there. And oh my gosh, Lynn, you brought it today. I think we all need to hear that. And here's the thing, I think we women naturally overthink things. And how about we just stop? How about we just go live our lives in happiness and joy and growth and celebrate other women? And like Gloria said, it's up to you to ask. They can say no, right? That's on them. Not asking is on you. And so I love that, Lynn. I love that so much. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to say to Lynn to affirm her? Yes, I love all of that. Yes, everyone being on there. Oh, so many nice things they're saying about you, girlfriend.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that it helps. You know, they always say the teacher learns the most, and it's so true. It's like it made me, you know, take the time to like sit down and like put these notes on paper and stuff because it's definitely, you know, what I've been seeing. You know, when God brings things up in different places and it all kind of comes together, it's like I think God's telling me something.
Yes. Yeah, it was phenomenal. I can't wait to send it to, I'm
Lynn,
gonna personally send it everywhere to everybody. Yes, Sandy.
I'd like to tell Lynn that that phrase from of Gloria's, if she says no, that's on her. If I don't ask, it's on me. That's going to carry me through the rest of the month.
Yes.
Good. That's so good. I tell you, it's been years ago. It's been so many years ago that I heard her say that, and it stuck with me all these years. It has. It's like one of those things you can't get out of your head, right?
Lynn,
Yes.
I wanted to speak on the cost of paying attention. I feel like the price that it cost me today to hear this was invaluable, and I
Oh,
thank you for that.
thank you so much.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I love that. I mean, God put you all here for a reason today. So you're supposed to
I
hear
hope
something.
so.
And you made the choice to be here. And I tell one half the time it's just showing up, right? And you don't know why you need to. Just sometimes I just tell one, no matter how crazy, I always tell one, I'm always willing to be inconvenienced and and I just think being inconvenienced is very important, right? Because if you choose to do that, then that's when magic happens, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
Oh,
right.
absolutely. Okay, anybody else? I think everything got answered in the chat. I just want to make sure. Well, I hope you all have an amazing month and take full advantage of that extra day. Run the race hard. Like today is June 30th. Just pretend it is. Be inconvenient. Be out there. Be audacious. Be in front of people. I don't care if it's booking. I don't care if it's sharing. I don't care what it is. Just go out there and run the race today. You deserve it. And the people around you deserve the opportunity. If it's buying the product or being in the company, either way. So have an amazing day. Thanks so much, Lynn.
Yeah. Thank
Bye,
you. Thank
ladies.
you. Bye-bye.